All right. Does anybody need want a break? And we're slightly over for what would be our 10:30 item, which is the Royal Commission for Free Access to Justice Conference. I'm happy to take a break now, and we'll take it afterward.
I do want to mention the speaker is ready to go, so I'm already a little over. So
Okay. All right, then let's press on in. All right, that's all right. No, this is why I asked. So our 10:30 item is now 10:40 is the report on the 2023 Access to Justice Conference. An opportunity for conference attendees to share key takeaways. We're joined by planning committee co-chair Janae Ball and of course our chief equity justice officer Diane Singleton. So I'll turn it over to Janae or to Diana.
let's start with Janae.
Thanks, Diana. And congratulations, President Abel. Well, thank you all for letting Diana and I present here today. We had our 25th Access to Justice Conference. We're extremely grateful to the WSBA for the bar's support of our conference year after year. Many of you were in attendance. This was a 3-day conference over September 28th through the 30th. It was a pretty amazing mix of not just attorneys and judges and legal system advocates, but we also had policymakers from across the state, community members, and the whole focus is trying to promote civil access to justice. And in fact, even Chief Justice Gonzalez was in attendance the entire time. It was pretty amazing to see how available he was to community. I saw people coming up to him all the time, asking questions. He was extremely gracious. It was pretty awesome. This year's conference theme was entitled Shifting Justice Towards Accountability and Trust. We had a Yakima artist make a pretty amazing logo for us. Diana, I don't know if you're able to share that so that the bog can see.
It is in the materials in our memo.
Okay.
On page 88, so you can understand.
Okay. So over time, the ATJ conference has evolved from, say, a pretty stuffy CLE to more about this sort of community experience. Although, of course, we were providing CLE credits. It's a great way to get CLEs. I made sure I maximize that opportunity. But one of the things that was pretty neat is this was the first conference we've had in person since COVID. And you could really see, I think, a thirst that people had generally for togetherness. And that was borne out by our numbers. We had 614 people attend. 492 were in person. We had 112 virtual attendees. This was our first ever hybrid conference. 50% of the people who attended identified as BIPOC, and we had 16% of our, thank you for sharing that, Diana. 16% of our attendees were non-legal community partners. We were really trying to fold our community into this conference as much as possible. So with that in mind, 84% of our sessions highlighted voices of people who have lived experience within the legal system. We had a land acknowledgement done by the Puyallup tribe. My co-chair Esperanza Barboa did the labor acknowledgement. We have breakout sessions about housing, homelessness, immigration, youth justice, gender justice, tech justice, school to prison pipeline, criminal justice reform, education access, and a slew of other topics. Our keynote address was delivered by Representative Jamala Taylor from the 30th Legislative District, and she's actually an attorney. So her insights that she provided from her perspective as a practicing lawyer, and then her kind of amplifying the need to join community with our legal system was great and really on point for our conference theme. And then at the end of the 3 days, we had a bunch of community members, attorneys formed an advisory panel on, okay, now that we took in all this information, what's our call to action? And how can we invite community impacted people to the table in a way that doesn't tokenize them or cause greater harm, but help them provide the leadership that we're seeking. We created some interesting spaces. So we had some art spaces, one of which was provided by La Resistencia, and I'm probably butchering that, I'm sorry, that was artwork from undocumented immigrants. We also had art provided by Fly Start Foundation, which is an organization that provides mentorship and support to incarcerated artists. I actually got a pretty cool Michael Jordan Air logo piece of art for my 13-year-old son, notwithstanding the trademark infringement issues that probably posed. But we really, again, try to focus on bringing community people together, access, inclusivity. So again, having that unique hybrid model. We also made sure that for those people who were attending remotely, we sent them a care package ahead of time of the conference to make them feel that they were a part of the event. We offered some quiet spaces. So we had a room dedicated to BIPOC individuals. We had a room dedicated to LGBTQIA2S+ individuals that could take time to just reflect and build community. We also had amazing sponsorship. We were able to provide 75 scholarships to people who otherwise would not be able to afford to come. I mean, again, this is a civil access to justice conference, and we want to make sure our VLPs, Northwest Justice Project, and other civil access community organizations could have their people attend. So having scholarship opportunities was really important. This conference is a lot of work. It took 18 months of planning. We hired a pretty amazing event company, Synchronicity, led by a woman named Alex Martin, who did an awesome job as our event planner, but that would not have been possible without the support of WSBA staff, namely Bonnie Sturkin and Diana, who with other WSBA staff spent, we estimate, 1,200 hours prepping for this conference. So thank you so much to the Bar Association for continuing to support what was the 25th conference that we've had supporting access to justice. So thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, Janae. Representative Copeland, did you have any comments that you wanted to offer?
If you don't mind.
Of course.
Okay. I just wanted to make two comments. One is around volunteerism, and just to recognize Janae Bond. She might look like a familiar face because she was the recipient of the local Heroes Award just in September in Spokane. So Janae is everywhere doing amazing things, and we're really, really lucky to have Janae, who stepped up to the plate to serve as our co-chair. The last conference, Janae was the chair of our fundraising committee, which we blew that rule out of the water, did it again this year. So thank you to Governor Adewale, who recruited Janae. But Janae is, and I don't think we've seen more of Janae in lots of different places, but I really wanted to thank Janae publicly for all the work, because it is a very big undertaking, many, many meetings in addition to her regular job as a lawyer. So it is a big undertaking. And then all of our volunteers on the conference planning committee, we had about 20 or so volunteers who included both attorneys, legal professionals, and folks from the community. And so again, this is a big undertaking. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I just wanted to acknowledge the evolution of the ATJ conference. It's been evolving to where we are now, which is really moving toward a community-centered space, that it's not just a bunch of lawyers and legal professionals. Some people refer to it back in the day as legal aid summer camp, because we used to have it in the summer. We also used to join with the Board of Governors, had a bar leadership conference that were happening at the same time, and then we would come together and separate And so that's maybe a possibility of something to consider, as we think about how do we continue to evolve this conference. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, the new world that we live in hybrid. It's just, there are many learning lessons, and I know that the Access to Justice Board will be evaluating this conference and what we're doing moving forward. Because in the hybrid space, there's just things that we had the conference registration, you could either join in person or you could join virtually, but we didn't think about people joining both ways. And so that resulted in a number of logistical things, but I think it's an exciting opportunity. And the last thing I'll share is that I just got back from the National Access to Justice Commission Chairs Conference with Terry Price. And we had an opportunity to learn from other states what they're doing, share what they're doing. And I just wanted to report that there are many comments from our colleagues around the country saying, Washington's always doing everything first and everything best. And I'm like, well, okay. But I did hear about the conference, and it was really inspiring for other states to learn about what we're doing.
All right, thank you very much, Director Singleton. We will go to questions or comments here in the room and online. We'll start with Francis.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to say a big thank you to my good friend Sinead Board. One of the last actions that I took as Access to Justice Board Chair is to appoint the co-chairs for the conference. I never thought she was going to accept. I pleaded and begged and did a lot of.
I would like to say he actually ambushed me. Yeah.
And I'm going to ambush you again now. The history of this conference is that the co-chairs, the planning conference co-chairs, often always get the bug to continue this work. So I want to, Mr. President, I want to encourage you to encourage your law school classmate, Sinead Board, to apply to the Access to Justice Board, which is the next place. The conference was a huge success. And I want to acknowledge the work that goes into it. It was really, and I want to say a big thank you to the governors, the Board of Governors that attended the conference. Governor Williams Root was going from one room to the other, soaking in everything, even when he was not going to get the CLE. He was not happy because some of the classes do not have CLE credits, which I hope the ATJ Board will fix that next conference. This is one of the most difficult conferences to put together because it's the first conference that we will have both in person and online. And so this is a very difficult conference, but we could not have had a better planner in place. And SP and Janae are excellent representation of what is best in our community. SP comes to this work not as a lawyer. Janae comes to this work as one of the best attorneys in Eastern Washington. And so they were able to bring the energy from the bar and the community together to organize a peerless conference, a wonderful conference that was such a huge help to many in our community. Lawyers like to talk to each other. We like to talk to each other because we always think we can fix everything. The conference shifted 3 conferences ago to the idea of lawyers coming to talk to each other to let us hear from the community how well the justice system is doing. And that has changed the way we deliver the Access to Justice Conference because people come from every corner of our states to that conference to say, look, this is what is going on in my community, but you can do it better. You lawyers don't understand how difficult it is for us to be able to enter into the courtroom, for us to be able to be called the gender that we want to be called. Those issues disseminate all over the state. You could think that the issues we are facing locally in King County is different from the issues we are facing that people are facing in Stevens County, for instance. So This is the joy of the conference, to be able to have a statewide conference where issues that are particular to localities are brought into focus on a statewide scale. And like Jane Ball said, the CJ was there at every minute. He was there with his assistants, he was writing notes and making suggestions and everything. So I want to encourage the Board of Governors to start attending Access to Justice Conference. It is a way for you to measure how the public will look at you, your leadership of our bar. It's a way for you to hear from people that in the community that are being impacted by the policy decisions you are making on this force. So I want to say a big thank you to the planners, as well as to the Access to Justice Board led by my good friend Terry Price. It was a success. There are areas of improvement, and I'm sure those improvements, like ATJ Board always do, will be reflected in the next conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Francis. Other questions, comments, or observations for any of the speakers? I see Brent's hand is up. We'll go to Brent first,
And me.
and then Jack. Thank you.
So for anyone who's talked to me since the end of September, you know that I truly believe this was a transformative conference. It is, I mean, honestly, I didn't go to law school to be an insurance coverage attorney. I didn't go to law school to just be an estate planning attorney. I went to law school to help people. And, you know, for good or for bad, there are a lot of opinions and thoughts about what the Access to Justice Board does, what the Access to Justice Conference is or was. And I'll tell you that every single preconceived idea I had was wrong. Even, and again, this is something where this is couched as praise, but also we need to improve. Because even looking at the materials, I'm looking at this going, none of this applies to me. This is going to be such a waste of my 3 days, but I'm going to go there because I want to, you know, support the community and support the efforts. But I still went in with an open mind and an open heart. And I couldn't believe how much all these different conversations apply to me as a person and as an attorney and as a solo practitioner. And as someone who obviously dedicates hours for the hope to improve the profession, I really wish we could go back in time and I could know what I could know now and tell every single member of the board to clear your schedule and make this a priority, which is why I'm not letting this conversation end. We're going to be talking a lot about this in budget and audit. We're talking with Diana and the Access to Justice Board because the thing that I really dislike the most is this is only currently biannual. There are people who won't know. If you're a law student and this was your chance to go and you missed it, because I talked to representatives from the Seattle University delegation, they didn't know that there were scholarship opportunities and there were students who would have wanted to go. So there's so much I want to do to expand the reach. Now, I want to go back because Treasurer Adewale is being very, very kind to himself and underselling. I believe the Bar Association needs, if we're going to be sponsoring this, and we should do more, we also need to look at the way in which CLE credits are attached, because many lawyers know that if there's no CLE credits, people aren't going to go. Why is it that a session with Supreme Court Justice Mary Yu and Francis Adewale doesn't get credit? I was blown away. And then there were also ones where there was credit, and I honestly don't think it was due. Like there was one I went to where, at 11 minutes after the hour, they said, "Oh, we need to talk about this RPC." They talked about it for 67 seconds, and yet I got the credit for it. Every session there should have at least gotten the general ethics because the information conveyed was so critical. It reminded me that there's access to justice issues all over the estate planning world, that there's access to justice in every single practice area, and that it's the big umbrella. This isn't just one area. This was one conference that was the giant umbrella of everything. And I mean, I get chills talking about it because I remember going from session to session where originally I thought, so stupid, what a waste of my time, and going, wow, this is making me a better practitioner. This is making me a better volunteer and a better champion for justice for our state and our profession. So again, this is my starting salvo. I hope you all are prepared for the next year of me pushing forward to make sure this stays top of mind, because it truly, I mean, I've talked to others who've gone in the past and they've said, oh, this conference is widely seen as one of the best conferences in the state. It absolutely is. And I can't wait to keep being a cheerleader. And for years when I'm no longer on the board, I will be at the Access to Justice conference to keep this going on. And I may have even found where I'll probably spend the 2,000 hours I currently give to the board to a practitioner who does immigration law, because she spoke during the opening session. And I literally sat here and said, what am I doing with my time? I should be out there helping change the world and really just hit you in the heart. So that's where I'm going to stop for today. And I just appreciate everyone who put in the time and energy and effort to make this a transformative experience for at least one person. And I can't wait to do it for others.
All right, well, thank you very much, Brent. Next one I have Tara, but I see, Janae, that your hand is up. Did you have a response you wanted to make to Brent? Or...
Yeah, I did. That was so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That was really heartfelt. And I think in particular, what I loved is that you shared, you don't practice in this realm. So it sounds like you do real estate work and estate planning and things of that nature. I'm a labor and employment attorney. I represent corporations. So part of it is saying, well, why does this matter to me? If you're not with Northwest Justice or whatnot, and it should, because we're part of this really amazing profession where we have special access to the justice system and how it navigates. And when we all took the oath of an attorney, we all swore that we would never disregard the causes of the defenseless, the oppressed, the indigent. And so even if we are not practicing in a realm that is specifically tied to civil access to justice, criminal access to justice, we are members of we are part of the system. We're uniquely poised to impact it, and we should all care. So I love that you said that, Governor Brent Williams-Ruth. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Janae. Let's go over to you.
Thank you. Well, I want to add my appreciation. Some of you know that I started my career at the bar working with the Access to Justice Board, so I know firsthand what it is to plan this conference, and it's really an honor to see where people have been able to take it, because it really has grown into so much more than how it started. So thank you, everyone, for keep making it better. I also wanted to add, part of the idea of this agenda item was to be able to share some takeaways. So I also invited Kari, I know was there, I know Sunita was there. Like many of you, I go to a lot of conferences, and I often come home with a bunch of notes and ideas, and then too often they kind of end up in a drawer. And not much happens with them. But one thing that I'm hoping to keep front of mind, and I would invite you all to think about, a big theme of this conference was engaging with the community, engendering trust with the community. And I think this is an incredibly important concept for the bar. It's right there in our mission statement that we serve the public. And the public is not here in the room. And even on a day-to-day basis at the bar, we're very limited in how we engage with the public. Many years ago, and it's probably come up, I can look at some of the folks who've been around for a long time, I'm guessing this has come up many times in our history. But in my time, my 9 years at the bar, it's come up at least twice, the concept of adding a member of the public to the board. I don't know if that's the right answer. I went to a session. One, I think it's worthy of consideration again. However, I also wanted to share that I went to a session that was focused on, having community advisory panels. There are many, sort of sister organizations that have done that. The Access to Justice Board has done that, recently. I think there's a lot of lessons learned, and I really would encourage us to seriously think about, if we serve the public, how are we meaningfully engaging with them, and being accountable to them for how we go about carrying out our mission. So that's something that's on my mind. Sarah had mentioned in the context of our priorities that at an operational level, we're really going to try to spend some time this year getting ready to bring to the board sort of the question of what is our relationship with the public, what is our public engagement, and for me at least, I think this needs to be a part of it. How are they involved in leadership, or how are they involved in advisory capacity? So I'll get thinking about that, and if you're interested in it, I'd love to talk to you about it.
All right, thank you, Executive Director Nevin. Other comments, observations here in the room, online? I see Tom, and I also see Rex is ready to go. All right, excellent, excited. Start with Tom, then on to Rex.
Okay, so 3 points. I agree that frankly, we should get all board members to attend this thing. This is going back to the, effective legal system, accessible to all, the mission statement on serving the public. And there have been comments about, well, this isn't an area that I practice in. I don't practice in this realm. And, I do a lot of work with the NAACP, but still, when I was at this conference, I realized that there's a lot of stuff out there in the realm I don't live in for other folks. So I think it's very beneficial for all board members to do it. Second point, respect to that, do it every year, every second year. Brett, after you made that comment to me, I talked to whoever the guy is. Okay. Why don't we do this every year? And his concern was logistically, it's too heavy a lift to do this every year. It has to be every other year. So at least that's the pushback I got there. And then my third point is I think we as a board should encourage our members, like the board members, the attorneys, that are members of our association, to attend this. And we are encouraging people that are like either neutral or sort of anti-DEI kind of stuff to attend. The conference has to have less preaching to the choir, rallying the base. Because and this week, I know y'all have heard me say this a few times, if we're gonna make progress, we have to get people that are in the middle and people on the other side to realize that DEI benefits them. What's in it for them? And, the preaching part is great for rallying the base and stuff, but like a Trump rally doesn't do any middle of the road or as a Democrat. And we've got, for things like this to be effective, I think having rallying support, getting people on our side enthusiastic is important, but with my concern is that really isn't going to move anyone. And that all should.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Rex.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. This is Rex O'Leary, I'm Business Manager with the State Bar. I agree, this is one of the most powerful programs that the Bar Association works on and supports with the Access to Justice Board. In my 17 years here at the Bar, I've had the pleasure of working on the ATJ program 3 times, once in just a very minor support capacity, and twice where WISBA CLE was much more involved in the program to ramp up the legal education credits offered at the program. It was great, but it also created some barriers around the program content that must fit within the MCLE guidelines, right? So I hear the request for more credit. I certainly support that. I think it'd be great to get this content available on demand and available for those that aren't able to be there for the actual live program. We would need to then get into those MCLE guidelines and it did put some restrictions on what we could plan and what would fit within those MCLE guidelines. I think it's something we should look into, something we should work hard to provide. It would be an honor for me to work on this program again. I've been here 17 years. This is the type of programming that moved me as well. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a member of the community in that regard, but I work here for a very long time, and I take a lot of pride these types of events that I look forward to working on. Okay. Thank you all for the great work you do.
Wonderful, thank you very much, Rex. Other comments, observations for any of our presenters here in the room? Here in the room, not seeing any room, looking online, not seeing any online. Well, with that, we go ahead and kind of pull this to a little bit of conclusion here. So 2 items. One, I want to say, I was a law school classmate with Janae. Janae's been a friend of mine for a long time. One of our previous, I think it was Francis mentioned that she's not a stranger to this organization. She's not only not a stranger to this organization, she's a treasure for this organization. I'm not surprised at all, but the event was a smash and Janae helping take the lead. So I want to thank Janae. I also want to take a moment and ask the board members to give a round of applause to not only Janae, but also Director Singleton and to Bonnie Scott for their hard work. Thanks again so much, Janae, Director Singleton, and Bonnie for all your efforts. I think that would be an appropriate time for a break. Our next item is at, I believe, 11:30. So let's go ahead and take at least a 10-minute break. We may go a little bit